The show focused on delivering beneficial information on everything to do with products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back to Key Pacific's Talk About Strata. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by the Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association of British Columbia. Tony Giventu is with us. And Tony, you spend a lot of time on the island. You spend a lot of time on the road touring the province, and a lot of that time is over on the island. I have another email here. This one's from Ray, who says, the president of my strata is in a quandary. I'm an owner, and I want access to the owner's mailing list so that I can try to get 25% support to put a motion to replace our property manager into the agenda for our upcoming general election. Our property manager has advised the council not to give me that list. We are at an impasse. What should the president of the Strata Council do, Tony? Thank you, from Ray on Vancouver Island.
Well, for starters, the records and documents of the Strata Corporation belong to the Strata Corporation.
Okay.
So they're not the property manager's records and documents.
Okay.
If the...
but the property management, if I'm reading Ray's letter,
saying don't
has
release them.
requested of the council, don't show him that stuff.
But they're the ones who are holding the records and documents.
Exactly, right.
So the Strata Council should give them a clear written instruction to comply with the request and to comply with the act.
Okay.
So give the property manager a clear instruction. If they do not comply with the instruction, the Strata Council needs to contact the Real Estate Council of British Columbia and file a written complaint against the property manager.
So the property management, even though they have a vested interest in seeing this not go forward, nonetheless, if an owner in a strata wants to initiate an action that may affect a change in property managers or other service providers, then they can do that, and in order to do that, they have to generate interest and votes at a meeting. And does every strata member or owner have unfettered access to the list of who he or she shares their building with?
Essentially, they do. It's a mailing list, not phone numbers, but it's the mailing list. What is used as the mailing list, which would be essentially the names and addresses, or the names, addresses, and emails,
right?
If they're using emails for those. So yes, they do. They do have access to that, and for this very purpose, because each of the owner's rights are protected. Owners have substantial rights when it comes to the interest of their property, being able to address their property. The Strata Corporation, what if this was a strata group of owners who discovered that their Strata Council was suddenly rogue and they want to remove Strata Council?
Right.
They need a list to be able to get,
right.
A signature of 25% of the owners. Now, the legislation has changed, by the way, with respect to this agenda item. It's only 20% now.
Oh, okay.
It's only 25% for the removal of council under the standard bylaws, but for all other items, it's only 20% for the agenda.
Oh, okay.
The other option is for Ray to just go around to his building and get 50% of the owners or 35% of the owners to sign to, with the anticipation it will be enough to force the matter anyhow.
So the property management group, feeling the boot is coming, has decided to be proactive and request that the information regarding the names of the owners in the building not be distributed to Ray and other interested parties. Is that against the law, or is that just kind of out of line?
If they have not followed a lawful instruction of the Strata Council, then that will be a violation of the Real Estate Services Act. So they can't be disciplined.
It doesn't pass the smell test very successfully either.
Well, and not only that, they will essentially be planting their own seeds of failure, because that will just be another signal to the Strata Corporation. They're not willing to comply with legislation. They're harboring information, and wherever there are secrets, there are usually lies. So you want to make sure that you have full disclosure of information.
And Ray asks, his question to you is, what should the president do? He's talking about the president of the Strata Council. He's the guy who hires the property manager and who may fire him. He's the spokesperson. So he's kind of on the bubble in this whole thing.
Well, and the Strata Council are the ones responsible for the supervision of contracts. And if a contractor isn't following a lawful instruction, then my recommendation for the Strata Corporation is get rid of the contractor and hire a new one.
Okay.
Because it's the tip of the iceberg over problems that may occur within buildings. If you can't follow the legislation, can't follow or are unwilling to follow lawful instructions, you have some difficulties.
Ray, thank you very much for your email. Hopefully we've been of some assistance. CHOA, CHOA.bc.ca is Tony's group's website. It is a fantastic website, and I highly recommend you at least have a look around there by way of trying to resolve your issues. It's crazy. Christmas time, Tony. It's our year-end show. It's been a blast this year, getting to know you and really working the Strata beat, so to speak. But Christmas does bring out unusual traits in all of us, some of them warm and fuzzy and fun and sentimental, and others, well, a little on the weird side. And if you share your home with, I don't know, 50, 60, several hundred other people, that could produce a problem or two. Tell us about some of your Christmas experiences.
Well, just go back to the fact that in Strata, your home is not your castle. It is everyone's castle. So everyone has to share. Everyone will have different traditions. Everyone will have different cultures. There'll be a multitude of interests. So, I think it's a time for tolerance, certainly. But people do crazy things at Christmas. We've got into the trend of deep frying turkeys. Bad idea on near any wood frame structure or in any multifamily building. If you want to do things like that, talk to your Strata Council and find safe locations on the property where you can actually do that. And maybe several people will want to participate. And we all know what the fire and hazard effects of deep fried turkeys look like. Some strata corporations permit festival lights. You need to look closely at your rules and your bylaws. What are you actually permitted to do? And certainly, it's never a good idea to either nail or screw into the exterior of the building. You may have a new building. You could be voiding part of the warranty. You could be causing damage to the building. These things need to come down.
And it does vary building to building. All you need to do is ride SkyTrain in Vancouver, and you go along that line, and one building's all festooned with a million lights, and the next building, there's not one. And there's a bylaw about that.
Absolutely. And we have some buildings in some communities around the province that have balcony competitions.
Yes.
Putting up trees and decorating your balcony. But even those buildings have very restrictive guidelines as to how you fasten those items, how you secure them.
Right.
We get a lot more windstorms at this time of year. We have decorations up, things need to be secured. The other thing is Christmas trees. Many strata corporations just simply prohibit them now in their buildings because of the fire hazard. But it's not just the fire hazard. It's the ingress and egress of the tree coming and going from the building that causes so much damage. Scratches on hallways, needles throughout the hallways and the elevators. People dispose of them. Some people, historically we've had people thrown them off their balconies, off the third floor. Seemed like a great idea, except for the parking lot was down below and the wind took hold of the tree. And so addressing all of these components and all of these things, it's certainly a time for an increased fire hazard. So people need to exercise more care. People also like to use their barbecues at Christmas for a variety of services. It's another cooking service. So be careful about your barbecues and your services, what you're cooking on them. Pay attention to them because we have an increase in fires as well.
And I think also Christmas is a time when we tend to invite people over, and in some cases for a few days. And so sometimes some of these buildings can get a little congested, and so can their parking lots.
Visitor parking. Strata corporations for this reason have had to implement quite significant rules around visitor parking, the length of visitor stays.
Sure.
It's not a bad idea. I think it's a great idea for strata corporations every year before the holiday season starts is to publish a list of what are the parking rules, what are the Christmas tree rules, how do you deal with cooking in decks and balconies, and how do you deal with outside exterior lights, if any, and decorations. It's a great opportunity to just remind owners, because owners don't spend their weekends reading their bylaws and their rules. They never pick them up unless they're about to do something and they need to make sure they're within the scope. But for the most part, most people just think, hey, I'm going to put some lights on my railing and wrap them around my railing, or I'm going to hang up a mobile that's lit in my balcony. I'll just kind of put a screw into the fascia board or something. Owners don't think about those things. It's their lifestyle. It's their community, their culture. It's a normal part of living in a strata. So it's very helpful for strata corporations to actually distribute a reminder list for everybody prior to the holidays every year.
And it may be a little disturbing to find out that you've moved into a building that doesn't allow lights, and by goodness, you're going to get those lights on your balcony anyway, and you start a war you really don't need.
Well,
sometimes you just have to pull your horns in and get along, don't you?
Well, and it's not always about Christmas lights. It's about holiday lights. So there may be other times of the year where we have holiday celebrations for other faiths and traditions, where strata corporations allow decorating, they allow lights, they allow other types of things happening in the building, and your common rooms. A lot of buildings have club rooms, common rooms, guest suites, those types of things. Make sure you have good rules published as to how those are administered. And whatever you do, exercise a little bit of tolerance so you can have a safe and happy holiday season.
Indeed. Well, that's certainly what we were wishing for you, Mr. G. It's been a terrific year, just absolutely sensational year, just learning all about the nuances of strata living. I'm Sterling Fox. He's Tony Giventu. We wish you and yours a wonderful Christmas, and we will see you in 2013.